Nicholas Kassotis. Kassotis has been found guilty of all 12 counts.
The hunters notice it before they understand it. Something pale sits half-submerged in a drainage ditch beside the tree line. For a moment, it looks artificial. A discarded mannequin, a hunting dummy, anything except what it actually is. Then one of them gets closer, and everything changes. The woods surrounding the Portal Hunting Club are silent that morning. Thousands of acres of swamp and timber stretch across rural Georgia, broken only by narrow roads and pockets of standing water. It is the kind of place where sounds disappear quickly, the kind of place where secrets can remain hidden for a very long time. What David Levette is staring at is a human torso. No head, no arms, no name. 20 yards away, another hunter finds a severed leg near the roadway. He freezes. For a second, his mind rejects what his eyes are showing him. Then reality settles in with horrifying clarity. Someone has scattered a human body across the swamp. By the time investigators arrive, the scene already tells a disturbing story. A fixed-blade knife lies near the wood line. A black storage tote sits nearby, stained with what appears to be blood. Cleaning wipes are scattered through the brush as if someone had tried to erase evidence and simply run out of time. Cadaver dogs begin searching. Over the next several days, they uncover more pieces. The victim's legs, her head, additional remains hidden across nearly 3 miles of swamp. One detail stands out immediately. The head has been buried separately, deliberately, carefully, almost as if whoever did this understood exactly how difficult identification would become without it. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation now has a homicide. What they do not have is a victim. The woman lying in pieces across Liberty and McIntosh counties seems to have vanished from existence before she ever reached the swamp. No missing person report, no family searching, no desperate social media campaigns, no phone calls demanding answers. Nothing. The silence around her is almost as unsettling as the crime itself. Investigators release facial reconstructions. Hundreds of tips arrive. None lead anywhere. Weeks become months. The woman remains unidentified. And somewhere beyond Georgia, the person responsible continues living as though nothing happened. The truth is that by the time hunters discover the body, the killer has already completed the most important part of his crime. He has convinced everyone who loved her that she is already dead. Her name is Mindy Ruth Mabane. Born in Florida in 1982, Mindy grows into the kind of person people naturally trust. Intelligent, thoughtful, curious. She studies political science before earning a master's degree in public and international affairs. She eventually builds a legal career and launches a podcast called Compelling Women, where she interviews women whose stories deserve attention. Friends remember her warmth, her optimism, her belief that good things were still possible. When she meets Nicholas James Csontos through a dating app in 2015, those closest to her believe she has found exactly what she was searching for. Nicholas seems impressive, educated, confident, successful, a former Navy JAG officer with an extraordinary resume that includes Pentagon assignments and national security work. He knows how to speak with authority. More importantly, he knows how to make people believe him. The two marry in October 2016. From the outside, it appears to be the beginning of a happy future. In reality, something much darker is already taking shape. Over the next several years, Mindy and Nicholas move constantly. Airbnbs, hotels, short-term rentals, one address after another, more than 50 relocations. Whenever questions arise, Nicholas has an explanation. There is danger, he says. Sensitive government matters. Threats connected to his former work. An FBI agent named Jim McIntyre is allegedly coordinating their movements for protection. Every relocation comes from Jim. Every precaution comes from Jim. Every unusual rule comes from Jim. Communication must happen through encrypted apps. Neighbors cannot be trusted. People might be watching. Undercover agents might be monitoring the property. Gradually, the boundaries between reality and paranoia begin to disappear. Friends notice changes. Mindy becomes isolated, fearful, increasingly disconnected from the people who care about her. Yet even then, Nicholas remains the trusted source of information, the interpreter of reality, the only person who supposedly understands the threats surrounding them. Years pass this way, and with every year the deception grows stronger. By 2022, Mindy is telling friends she is pregnant, 8 months along, excited, hopeful. Those who love her celebrate the news, but investigators would later discover a devastating truth. Mindy was never pregnant at all. Around the same time, Nicholas begins pursuing another relationship. In September 2022, he starts communicating with horror author Samantha Kolesnik through an online writing community. He never mentions his wife, never mentions Mindy, never mentions the life he is already living. Instead, he begins constructing yet another version of himself. Another story, another fiction, because fiction is something Nicholas understands exceptionally well. Under a pen name, he writes horror stories online. One of them becomes so popular that film rights are eventually purchased by Sony Pictures. He knows how narratives work. He knows how believable lies are built. And according to prosecutors, he has spent years practicing both. Then, sometime in late November 2022, Mindy disappears forever. The evidence later uncovered paints a brutal picture. Purchases begin appearing on Nicholas's debit card. A shovel, a hammer, latex gloves, folding razors, Clorox wipes. Then, shortly before investigators believe Mindy was killed, a field dressing kit designed for hunters. The next day, a fixed-blade knife. Surveillance cameras capture him making the purchases himself. Cell phone records place him traveling toward Liberty County. GPS data later places his vehicle directly at the disposal sites. That same night, his phone suddenly goes dark. No calls, no texts, no data activity, nothing. Hours disappear into silence. At the Savannah rental property, investigators later discover blood evidence inside the home. Chemical testing reveals significant staining on a blue futon. The blood has soaked through the fabric and into the mattress beneath. The position of the stains suggests Mindy was sitting when she was attacked. The medical examiner eventually documents 9 separate lacerations to her head. 1 fractures her skull. Defensive wounds cover her hands and arms. She fought for her life. She lost. Then came the dismemberment. Then came the swamp. And then came the lies. Nicholas contacts Mindy's family, her friends, her employer. Each receives a version of the same story. A medical emergency, complications, hospitalization, death. He tells people she has been cremated. He promises memorial services. He offers explanations whenever questions arise. Months later, he escalates the deception further. He informs some people that he himself has died in a car accident. He fakes his own death. And somehow, remarkably, it works. Nobody searches for Mindy because everyone believes they already know what happened to her. The unidentified woman in the Georgia swamp remains unnamed because the people who would normally be looking have been carefully conditioned not to look. For nearly 6 months, the deception holds. Then one person notices something. Nicholas's former wife, Heather Thomas, is researching information about him online when she encounters a forensic reconstruction released by investigators. The image stops her cold. She immediately thinks of Mindy. That single observation changes everything. Authorities begin genetic genealogy testing. Family trees are constructed. DNA comparisons are made. Finally, on May 11, 2023, investigators confirm what nobody had known for months. The unidentified victim is Mindy Ruth Mabane Csontos. The next day, Nicholas is arrested in Pennsylvania. By then, he is already living under a new name, already married to Samantha, already preparing to purchase a home, already telling yet another version of his life story. At trial, prosecutors dismantle those stories piece by piece. The mysterious FBI agent Jim McIntyre appears to exist only inside Nicholas's narrative. Investigators find no evidence supporting the claims that had governed Mindy's life for years. The physical evidence is overwhelming. The purchases, the GPS records, the blood evidence, the disposal sites, the autopsy findings, the lies. Most devastating of all, investigators confirm that Mindy was never pregnant, a claim that had become central to the fantasy Nicholas built around their lives. When Nicholas finally takes the stand, he attempts to explain everything through the same invisible figure who has supposedly directed his actions for years. The jury is unconvinced. They deliberate. On August 14, 2025. Nicholas James Csontos is convicted on all counts. Life without parole, plus 25 years. The sentence closes the legal case, but it cannot erase what happened before the murder. The manipulation, the isolation, the years spent teaching intelligent, caring people to doubt their own instincts and trust his version of reality instead. By the time Mindy was killed, the trap had already been built around everyone who loved her. In the end, the man who spent years writing horror fiction created something far more disturbing than anything he ever published. Not because it involved blood or violence, but because it depended on something far more fragile. Trust. The people closest to Mindy believed what they were told because that is what people do when someone has earned their confidence. And for nearly 6 months, that trust helped bury the truth beside a Georgia swamp. Mindy eventually got her name back. Her killer eventually lost every lie he had built around himself. But the question left behind is harder to answer. How many warning signs can hide inside a story when the storyteller is the one you trust most? If cases like this remind you that evil rarely arrives looking dangerous, stay with the investigation, because sometimes the most terrifying crimes begin long before anyone realizes a crime has occurred.